So with Texas's new law requiring the Ten Commandments be posted in public school classrooms, surely teachers can post other religious texts of their choosings, right? Wrong. So a Reddit user posted this message they say was from a Texas school district, and it tells teachers that if they post any religious laws, creeds, rules, etc., that's a personal decision by the teacher, and it is not allowed by the law. It'd be a violation of the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. So if that's the case, then how are Texas legislators getting away with requiring public school districts post the Ten Commandments, but nobody can post anything else? Because when it's all said and done, it is about religious freedom for certain religious perspectives. And this is not the first time that a state has tried this. So Kentucky did the exact same thing 45 years ago. They required schools post the Ten Commandments that were paid for with private money by arguing that if it was paid for by donations, then they could claim that the state was hands-off. There was still a separation of church and state. And they also argued that the Ten Commandments was a foundational document of Western civilization. They're arguing that in Texas too. But that's a hard argument to hold up given that the founders didn't cite the Ten Commandments in any of those founding documents. And many of the founders spoke very strongly against any idea of governmental sponsorship of religion. And in 1980, Stone versus Graham, the U.S. Supreme Court agreed with the founders. They ruled that Kentucky's law was unconstitutional. Just because the state didn't pay for the Ten Commandment posters doesn't mean the state didn't have a hand in them being posted. And they also saw right through the argument that it was a foundational legal document, especially since we don't have any laws about the God you worship, graven images, taking the Lord's name in vain, honoring the Sabbath, honoring your parents, adultery, or coveting. That's like 7 of the commandments. Although it is almost 100% Christians who are pushing this, definitely not all Christians are on board. Now, in the Texas lawsuit against the law that has so far been successful, one of the plaintiffs is a woman named Mara Richards-Bim. And she says she's a Christian, a Baptist, a mom, and she says she is a staunch advocate of the First Amendment. And she says that she doesn't want public schools to be in the business of teaching religious doctrine. So if this didn't work half a century ago, why try it again now? Well, it's because supporters of this kind of stuff around the country think that the makeup of the Supreme Court has changed in a way that's favorable to their cause, specifically Christian causes. So their hope is that these battles in the courts will make their way up to the Supreme Court, and that this current court will ignore that precedent and undo the actions of the 1980 court and allow the posting of Ten Commandments and all sorts of other religious messaging. So I want to know what you think. Should states be allowed to force public schools to post the Ten Commandments? Should teachers be allowed to post whatever religious perspective they want to on the walls? Or is all of this blatantly unconstitutional?